But first, I want to address Never Trumpers. Remember, in his first campaign, President Trump said we would all get tired of winning. Now, I have not grown tired of seeing conservatism advanced in the United States, but Never Trumpers are tired of winning because they never really wanted to win. That's the revelation we examine in tonight's preamble. On social media, I stumbled across a post by a former guest of the Chris Salcedo show. She is a Republican, notified those in her orbit that she was all in for Beijing Biden. After all of this time, I still marvel at how the alleged Republicans, certainly not conservatives, they managed to ignore all of the good Trump has done by focusing in on his tweets and how divided they claim Trump has made America. These so-called Republicans have zero blame for the party that can't win elections unless America is divided. They heap all the blame on Trump. Now, I notified this former guest that I cannot, nor will I ever support a party that advocates for a terror group, Antifa, or a violent group advocating the death of police officers and white people, BLM. I will never support the Democrat Socialist Party that turns a blind eye to thugs who are looting, burning, beating, and killing their way through left-wing cities, harming innocent Americans. I will never support a party that advocates abortion on demand, partial birth abortion, or killing a child after it's born. I will never support a party that promises to raise my taxes, grow government beyond the consent of the governed, and abandon our military without proper training or even ammunition. I will never support a party that enabled and funded terrorist governments of Iran, communist governments like Cuba and China, or ignored malign activity undertaken by Russia. Lastly, I can never vote for a party that has leaders who sat back and watched a virus unleashed on the globe through lies and disinformation by communist China, who watched their own constituents die and refuse to hold China accountable. None of these activities, by the way, are particularly unifying. President Trump, on the other hand, has delivered on more conservative priorities than any other president since Reagan. But for some, the tweeting is just too much. Speaking of Reagan, he had to deal with those who had grown tired of fighting the menace of the Soviet Union, back in his day. At bottom, those people, too, were crying about divisiveness. Reagan said there was only one way to guarantee peace, and you could have it in the very next second: surrender. Those who have grown tired of fighting the deviancy of the left, I get it. You're out of gas. Does that mean you have to join the deviancy of the left? Just because you're tired of this fight, does that have to give you the right to distort reality of what Trump has accomplished? From a robust economy, record low unemployment, to constitutional judges, a rebuilt military, pro-American trade deals, lower taxes, and reduced government burden on businesses. This president has delivered. Folks who have grown too timid to stand up for their own beliefs should not seek to diminish Trump's accomplishments. It's just not fair. But let's examine the guy these never-Trumpers would impose on this nation, our children, and communities.
Barack and I think it's a right for people to have bad health care. I'll lead an effective strategy to mobilize true international effort to pressure.
The way China will respond is when we gather the rest of the world that, in fact, believes in open trade and making sure that we're in a position.
COVID has taken this year, just since the outbreak, has taken more than 100 years. Look, here's the lives. When you think about it, more lives this year than any other year for the past 100 years.
So, an incoherent boob. That's the guy the left-wingers and the never-Trumpers want to put in charge of the last bastion of freedom on earth. Oh, wait, there's more.
If you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black.
What you all know, but most people don't know, unlike the African-American community, with notable exceptions, the Latino community is an incredibly diverse community with incredibly different attitudes about different things.
The reason I was able to stay sequestered in my home is because some black woman was able to stack the grocery shelf.
Look, one of the things that that I think is really important is that we somehow
put that back on. There's somehow that we're in a situation where...
Thank you. Thanks for your time. Please come back in less than 13 years, sir.
All right, Chuck. Thank you very much.
Okay, let me amend. An incoherent boob who says racist things and who, according to members of the Obama administration, has been wrong on every major foreign policy decision in our lifetime. The fact that never-Trumpers would want to foist that guy on us, along with his socialist enablers with their anti-American policies, says more about never-Trumpers than it does about President Trump. Occam's razor is a problem-solving principle that, in essence, says the simplest explanation is usually the correct explanation to any given problem. I think Robin Williams summed up Beijing Biden the best.
We still have comedy, though. We still have great comedy out there. There's always rambling Joe Biden. What the f***? Joe says that even people with Tourette's go, no. No. What is going on? Joe is like her uncle who's on a new drug and hasn't got the dosage right. I'm proud to work with Barack America. He's not a superhero, you idiot. Come here. When FDR was on television, there was no TV back then. Come here, Joe. Sit down.
Never-Trumpers never really wanted to win, did they? They just wanted invitations to parties and cruises. They are perfectly content to complain about how their ideas are never implemented so long as America is burdened with a liberal-dominated government. Winning comes with responsibility. That's something that the never-Trumper crowd just can't handle. All of that responsibility. To have core values and see that those values are implemented, to keep your promises to those who had faith in you, well, that takes a man. A man who's in it for his country and his countrymen, not himself. It's something that never-Trumpers and the Democrat Socialist Party can never really understand.
You just watched Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news channel, now in more than 70 million homes. You can get Newsmax TV on your cable system or check your cable guide. And if your system doesn't carry Newsmax, call them, tell them you want Newsmax TV, because we're real news for real people.